Here in mid-January, it's a great time to start thinking about spring and what our garden's going to look like in the future. But right now is a great time to think about winterizing our garden. And yes, it does matter no matter what area you're in, because it can really protect your garden against pests and disease. And it also can prepare the ground for what you plan to do in the future. Now, here in Southern California, we don't go completely dormant, but in most cases, winter is a time of dormancy in our garden. But nevertheless, whether you're in an area that freezes or an area like this, taking time now to clear out some of these potential issues or prevent these issues can be really essential to make sure that we have a beautiful and bountiful spring that we're all looking forward to. So really a good first step to winterizing any garden, whether you're here in the South or you're in a place that freezes, is to clear out any debris that might be causing problems in the garden, meaning you might have some fallen branches that could get diseased. You could have some leaves or other debris that could harbor mold and mildew and spread disease as well. So we want to clear all of that out. And I did that a couple of days ago. I have some weeds growing in here, but I really came through and got rid of all of my annuals that were here. They were definitely spent and they needed to go. So I cleared all of that out. And I'm going to continue with the next step, which is to prune your perennials and roses or perennials or anything like that. I don't have a lot of perennials in my yard, but I do have shrubs that need to be trimmed. And you want to go through and definitely trim those back. And roses, this is the perfect time here in mid-January to trim the roses back. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. I gave them a small trim about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It wasn't quite the time to trim them for me. So now that it's mid-January, it's perfect. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to trim these back. I'm going to clear out a little bit more of the debris. I'm going to make sure that none of the debris from my roses ends up on the ground. And then another great tip to do when you're winterizing your garden is to come through and spread some mulch to really kind of keep the moisture in the ground, and especially if it freezes, that's always a great thing to do as well, so you can protect those roots from the harsh weather. So I'm going to get started. I also have an area in my yard that you're going to see right now that is definitely needing some attention and some of that winterizing action, and that is my coleus that have definitely dropped most of their leaves. There's some branchings down on the ground. So I'm going to hopefully create a better environment that will set me up for a great future in the spring, because some of that debris needs to be cleaned out. I need to power wash that area eventually and definitely get rid of some of the old stuff that has definitely fallen. So we're going to get started. And this is the first step to a great, successful garden in the future. I know it's hard to get started, but we have to think about what we do now can really impact our garden. All right, and as I start this David Austin rose right here, I notice that I have a little bit of the canes on here that have kind of died back. I have a little bit of that black spot on the cane, so that has got to go because it could spread throughout the whole plant, and we don't want that to happen. We want it to be beautiful in the spring. We don't want a diseased, stricken plant. So I'm going to cut some of that off. I'm going to show you what that looks like so you can see. Now, if you notice, that part of the stem is green, but as we look here closer, we see that some of that, especially right in here, is one of those signs that we've had some black spot that has spread throughout because the bottom portion of this branch is slowly dying off. That will continue to spread down to the main plant, and we do not want that. We want to get rid of that immediately. So that's one of the reasons why we definitely want to not skip winterizing our garden here, even where it doesn't freeze. So when I was cleaning out my debris after I had trimmed back the roses right there, I was also clearing out some of those leaves, and you can tell that on these leaves I already have rust starting. We have a little bit of droppings from some bugs that had come through here, different insects. There's even some eggs there. So yeah, we got to clear that out so that it's not going to be a problem come spring. So it's always a good thing to clear it out. So obviously this area is pretty sad. I mean, it looked beautiful throughout the season, but right about now in January, when we're having those really cool winter nights, the coleus is clearly telling us it doesn't like it. So it's time for a clean out, and it's always nice to start fresh anyways in the spring. So we have a lot of leaf debris around here on the bottom. We've had some high winds recently that have broken off some of these branches. So I have some branchings down there. And I also noticed that it's kind of moist there too. It can have mold and mildew that can start to develop. So let's clear this out because it's going to look so much better, and it will help us plan for the spring, knowing that we have a really nice clean slate right here. All right, let's tackle this down. So after I cleared those coleus out, you can clearly see all the debris that's on the ground here that just is a haven to spread disease. And it's, you know, full of rotting leaves and branchings and stuff like that. So it's really good to come through and winterize this area by clearing it completely out so that I have a fresh start in the spring. Now, this area had been equipped with some drip irrigation that I had to cut off. So I'll make sure that I plug those up so that they're not running all over the place unnecessarily, and I don't have any wasted water here. So I wasn't really watering that much anyways, but at least it'll be here for when I'm ready to plant my new containers in the spring. I lovingly call this area my container corner. So having a fresh start right here where it's all cleared out and ready to go is going to be really nice in a couple of months when it is time to plant. So I'm going to clear this out, and it's going to be majorly different than it looks like right now, at least cleanliness wise. So just clearing the debris and the pots and the old foliage out of this area did wonders. I even came through with my pressure washer and cleaned it up a little bit. And when this dries, it's going to be perfectly situated for when I'm ready to plant it in the springtime. I think that I'm going to come by in a couple of days and finish off my roses just like I did with the back. I'm going to also start working on winterizing my hanging baskets, clearing out some of that dead debris as well. But yeah, I mean, we can help our garden even in the winter when it seems like nothing's going on, that those root systems are still alive and active, and we want them to stay alive and have the best shot at a great spring that's coming up very soon. Now, after we've gone through to clean a little bit, we want to make sure that we take care of our tools that we use. Today, I use some shears here, and I'll make sure that I come through and really clean these up a little bit. I might even use a little bit of rubbing alcohol on here as well to sanitize them, just in case if there's anything that I had been cutting away at that was diseased. I don't want to spread it to any other new plants. I also used these larger loppers that were able to cut some of the canes off, some of the roses that I had back there, some of the dead canes that needed trimming away. And then I also used this very inexpensive garden rake here, and I love it because it was from the Dollar Tree. The bottom portion cost only $1.25 and the pole $2 altogether. And what I love about this is it's very lightweight. It fits into small areas, and actually the teeth or the forks on the bottom here, I don't know what it's called, they're pretty heavy duty, so it works really well. And if it breaks off, it's not breaking the bank, and I've been using it for a long time and it's been great. I also used a push broom, and then obviously to clear this area and give it a nice clean wash, I used a pressure washer, which that's optional. But as long as we get the area clear, it's totally fine. Now, after we've done all of these things, once we've used our tools and we've cleaned our tools, then it's time to start thinking about the future and planning for spring. I mean, it's a great time to order our seeds. Ben and I order our garden seeds from High Mowing Seed Company. It's an organic company, and they have been wonderful to deal with, and we do that every season. We also recently have been planting some tulips here. I'm going to be thinking about annuals, maybe ordering a couple of those from an online retailer, and then also waiting for those deals at our local retailers as well, and kind of coming up with ideas with what we want to have in this area. And it's the fun part. Planting is definitely the fun part. And then when you get it in the ground or in containers and watch them grow after you've done all of this hard work, it is definitely well worth it. One thing that you can do before you start planting is create a wish list. What would you like to see in your garden? It's kind of neat to get those ideas organized, and a lot of online retailers allow you to create your own wish list or your own plans for the future. Proven Winners is one of those. They create a little favorites area that you can go into and save your favorite annuals or perennials or anything else that they sell. And I know a lot of other retailers do that as well. Anyways, even if we just write a list down, it's kind of cool to go back and see those ideas, because we might be doing this now in the winter, and then 3 months from now we're like, what was I thinking about, or what was I planning for this area? And you may have forgotten some of those great ideas that you had brainstormed way back in January. So I implore you, go ahead and take this time to clean up the yard, winterize your garden, because that hard work that you do now can only pay off in the future. And if you have any ideas or tips for winterizing or what you do in your garden, put those down in the comments, because I'd really like to know what you do in your area. That's it for now, everybody. If you want to watch any of our other videos, feel free to do so. We have a lot of different topics that we've covered. But until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.